to this month's edition of Tiger Talks. My name is Saida Terrence. I am the Alumni Coordinator for Warrensville Heights City School District, and it is my pleasure to welcome you all tonight. For Tiger Talks, the idea was to have alumni from various years that have graduated from the district and who knows when, come back and share their stories of success and how they've navigated life after high school. They'll share with us details about when they came to the district, how life was when they were growing up here, and then where they went afterwards. So often we hear about recent graduates, but we never hear about life afterwards. So it is my honor to welcome you, my guest for this month, Fire Chief Herb Waugh from Warrensville Heights City. And he's going to share with you his journey to becoming fire chief, as well as his journey as a student in Warrensville Heights City School District. You can take it away, Chief Waugh.
All right. Thank you, Saida, Ms. Terrence, if you will. I really like to thank you and let you know how I appreciate you choosing me for Tiger Talk. I really feel it as a privilege and an honor to be able to speak for your program here. So thank you very much for that, first off. And I wanted to, when you talk about career and the path to the career, my path to this career wasn't cookie cutter like most people go through their careers and you go through school training and go through your school years, go to college, come out, get your job, and you start off right there. Mine had a few bumps and bruises and pitfalls, if you will. So I just wanted to mention that first. But first off, I went to Warrensville schools from kindergarten through 12th grade. And that's Westwood, Randallwood, the junior high, those buildings that are no longer here, and the high school, which is being revamped right now. And I'm appreciate seeing all of that happening right now, especially Westwood being there, because that's the school district or the side that I came from. And those who grew up in that side of the neighborhood, we still talk about being Westwood alumni. We talk about the elementary school, and we even have picnics each year, Westwood. And that's the bond that you get from growing up in Warrensville. We had a strong bond that we still hold to this day. But when I got to Randallwood, we were one of the newer classes in there. The open pie was a new system in junior high, and that's when junior high to high school, that's when I kind of got a little frazzled there with my high school years. I was stuck on a little something different, if you will, and I had to get a little refocused. But I'm gonna start back to how my career path started, because it actually started, believe it or not, in elementary school. Back in 1976, March of 1976, my brother, Robert Waugh, who a lot of you affectionately know as Sweets, who teaches over at the elementary school right now, my brother set fire to our house on Lee Heights Boulevard, where my mom resides right now. And he was 3 years old. I was 10. That put us out the house for 3 months. But that fire was the start of me wanting to be a firefighter. My uncle was a fireman at the time, and he was on that fire. And he was the first African-American firefighter hired in Warrensville Heights. After that, I kept, seeing him. And by the way, we had to stay in the Holiday Inn in North Randall for 3 months after that. My brother put us out the house for that time period. And then after that, my uncle would come to career days at the school So those career days that they have at the schools, and they still have, I like to go to them myself sometime. Those career days actually work. We had, you could go, you know how you go to different sections, you go to see the police officers, the firefighters, the electricians, the telephone company, you know, whichever one came, CPAs, doctors, lawyers, everybody that came talk to us. I always went to the electrical and the firefighters every year it came. So that's where my desire for the job started. We didn't have vocational firefighters in our district at the time. We did have electronics, Electronic Service and Institute. So no, vocational electronics. I went to Electronic Service and Institute right out of high school. But vocational electronics with Mr. Piscura in the high school was one of the things that I focused on once I got into high school. And that was my career path. I was going to be an electrical guy, electrician. That was my career path. But coming right out of high school, I went to Electrical Service and Institute, which is no longer there, ETI. But I went there and I was working at the corner of my street at a little business called Adam's Rib Restaurant. Adam's Rib Restaurant was a barbecue store that was owned by the late Mayor Shelton Richardson. Shelton Richardson really helped me a lot on my career path. He taught me a lot. He started me there. I worked for a year with him as I was trying to go to Electronic Service and Institute at the time. And he helped me to build a resume. He helped me to learn job structure and everything. I was working for him for about a year, and he started telling me to put in my resume places, and he said, put down that you're my manager. I said, Sheldon, I'm not your manager. What are you talking about? He said, you my manager. He said, do you open and close for me? I said, yes, sir. He said, do you take my money to the bank? Yes, sir. He said, do you have keys? Yes, sir. He said, you my manager. I said, well, give me a raise. So he did. He actually did give me a raise, and but he told me to start putting that on my resume. He started telling me what to put down, everything that I did at his job, and that started me looking at jobs a little different now. I was like, okay, man, I gotta these things. That was big, and I'm gonna come back to Sheldon in a minute because he helped me a lot in forming his career path. But anyway, that struggle with me in high school, I didn't even think I was going to graduate. Matter of fact, that cap and gown picture, they gave me that cap and gown and told me they wasn't going to give me my diploma until I went to summer school and finished up government class for Miss Nailing. But I did, and I'm glad Miss Nailing did that. I went to summer school and I still got my diploma and everything, but it was a lesson. Nobody's gonna hand you anything. You got to go get it. And that was a good start for me in learning there. There's a lot of teachers, man. I could go on naming teachers that helped me along the way and everything. And I probably could talk about some of them things later. But after that first year of ETI, I wasn't doing too well in ETI, and I was still working on that temper that I had from high school. So I said, it's time for me to do something. I was struggling financially, trying to pay for, I was catching a bus to go to ETI downtown all the time. And then I said, man, this is not working. I'm struggling. So I decided to join the National Guard. The Army National Guard. And the Army National Guard, I learned some things there, learned some structure. It helped me. I'm gonna tell you the truth, it didn't work on my temper as much as I wanted to. but it did help me learn some structure and things to do on time frames, and that was good. I wanted to go in as a paramedic in there because I was still thinking about that fire job that I wanted. but they didn't have the opening for paramedic work when I took on my MOS. So I went in as a track vehicle mechanic. Did my tour in the National Guard for about 3 years. I got out, conscientious objector. I started studying the Bible, working. I got a job when I got out. I got a job at Stouffer's. At this time, I'm taking tests all over the place. I'm taking tests at AT&T. I'm taking tests at the Electricians Union. I'm taking tests at the fire department of Shaker Heights. And AT&T and Shaker Heights Fire Department, I didn't pass. I failed both of those tests. I was 3 points away from them. So I said, man, I didn't know what I was going to do. I just kept working at Stouffer's, and I'm still filling out applications everywhere. And one day the test for Warrensville Heights was being offered out. That test, my dad, and I want to go back to that high school years. My dad and my mom, they divorced right when we moved back in from the fire. I was around 10, 11 years old. So I felt like I had to be dad and big brother to my little brother at the same time. So all these things that I was doing, I caught myself being, like a dad to my brother. He didn't need that. He's a big guy, but I did feel like I had to help out at home with mom. And anytime I got a little money, I gave it to her, and still do that if I can. I don't want to ever miss out on taking care of mom. Because did I tell y'all I'm a mama's boy? I'm definitely a mother's boy. And you needed that structure that mom gives you coming up. She needed help as a single mom. And you talk about that saying, a village to raise a child. It came along later, but that started earlier. That started back in our younger days. You could go in and out of each other's house and just walk around, and everybody was mom or auntie, or they just let you in. I had some very close ties coming up in Warrensville. It was a big bonding for us coming up. I never forget the years coming up. But anyway, that test, back to that test in Warrensville, it was the last day it was being offered. My dad called me up. He said, "Did you take the test or fill out an application to take the test for Warrensville Heights Fire Department?" I said, "No, I didn't do that." He said, "Why not?" I said, "My uncle works there. I didn't think I could do that." He said, "You absolutely can. Go take it." I went up to Warrensville that morning. It was Friday. I don't remember the date, but I took the application. They said, "You got to have it back here by 4 o'clock. Filled it out. Went and got the doctor's signature and everything. Filled it out to the T. I got there at about 3:45. I didn't have a picture. They said, "You need a picture of yourself in here." They sent me over to the Randall Mall. The Randall Mall, you could have pictures taken in a little photo booth for $2. And I went up there, took that picture, and that picture is in my file to this day in the HR department. But I got it back there at 4 o'clock, and went back, took the test, and that National Guard thing gave me 10% plus the 10% for being a resident. They gave you 15% or some kind of way they figured it out. I wound up being #1 on the list when it was time to hire for fire department. So I got hired in the fire department in 1995, February 6, 1995. But again, all of those things were wonderful, but the best thing happened in between there was me meeting my wife. After I became one of Jehovah's Witnesses, I met my wife in 1991, and 1991, and we got married in 1994, September 24th of 94. So she's been my rock since then. And we have two beautiful boys and they're doing well. My oldest is married, living in California. He's been married 5 years. And my youngest, he was on here earlier. He's 16 and doing well. He'll be a junior this year in high school. But he's a Tiger, but he's the wrong Tiger. He's a Twinsburg Tiger. But we can let him do some Tiger talk sometime. But yeah, that's a lot. I just babbled on a lot about how I got there. But again, I just appreciated once I was on the job for 5 years, I got that call from Shelton Richardson, who had gave me a job in at Adams Rib Restaurant. At this time, he was mayor in North Randall, and he told me he was going to be mayor before he was mayor. And he told me before that he was going to make me his fire chief. Well, 5 years on the job, Sheldon Richardson gave me a call. Sheldon Richardson gave me a call, and he said, "Herbie, I want you to come be my fire chief." I said, "Mayor Richardson, I ain't been no fire chief before. I don't know if." He said, "That's all right. I'm gonna train you." He said, I'm gonna train you, send you to the schooling you need to get." He said, "You was manager for me before, and I trusted you, and I want you to come run my fire department." And I was still a little apprehensive. I said, "Man, Shelton, I ain't never been there." I said, "Can you send me an inspector school?" He said, "I'll send you there." I said, "Can you give me some type of management training?" He said, "I'll send you there." I said, "Man, I ain't never been no fire chief before." He said, "Herbie, do you think I was mayor before I became mayor?" And when he said that to me, man, that hit home so hard. I said, "Man, hey, keep right. You got to start somewhere." With these things, I said, "Makes sense to me." So after he said that to me, I went and accepted the job at North Randall Fire Department in the year 2000. I can't remember the month. It was early in the year. It was, I can't remember the exact month, but I worked there for 5 years. I got that 5 years of chief experience. And then when my youngest was born, I retired from the North Randall Fire Department as chief and just continued on my job as the firefighter at Warrensville Heights. Then in 2012, June of 2012, Mayor Bradley D. Sellers gave me a promotion to the position that I'm in now as the chief of Warrensville Heights Fire Department. So it's been a journey, and that's how I got to this spot here. There's a lot of little bumps in between, but I just wanted to hit the highlights on there.
Thank you, Chief Waugh. This is really great to know all the little details as to how you got where you are now. I don't know who knows me in here, but I remember when I was in high school, my freshman year, there was a program at City Hall and they would let students come and work over the summer. And that's where I really got to know Chief Waugh for the first time. I was his intern and it was so much fun. He take me here or there in the fire truck. I get to know some of the firefighters. They live there, so they were cooking food and I get some because free food, I'm not gonna say no. So it was just a really great experience. And since then, he's been one of the greatest people to know. And I'm so glad that I could have him on today. At this point, we're going to begin the questions portion. So what that entails is I will softball a few questions at Chief Waugh, and then one at a time, everyone else can begin to ask a couple questions that they have. So I'll begin now. Okay. Now, Chief Waugh, you mentioned that you were a student of Warrensville Heights City School District. What were some crucial lessons you learned while you were a student? You're still muted.
I'm sorry. Some of the crucial lessons I learned is actually having stick-to-itiveness. And one of the things that happened, it was a teacher in junior high school, Mr. Thomas. he was actually he was a principal there. But when they called home to mom and would tell them things that I was doing wrong, and that whenever they called mom and got it, that's when you say, man, you got to do different than what you're doing. Because one thing, my mom, I remember getting in trouble and it said I needed a ride home. She said he can walk. He can walk. So she wouldn't come get me and made me walk home. But the lesson learned is you got to figure out doing right, or you're not gonna make it anywhere.
That's an interesting story. You were forced to walk home. Okay. Another question I have is, well, it's a two-parter. What is the greatest challenge you faced so far in your career?
Oh, wow. There's a lot of challenges I've faced, but I'm gonna mention a couple. You know, being a fire chief where you grow up is not always easy. I mean, and being a firefighter, paramedic in the city where you grow up is not always easy because you have so many friends, so many ties, and you see things that happen that are not good. And one of the one of the first calls I went on, and I'm gonna mention this story because he's not ashamed of it, but I'm not gonna mention his name. There was a call that a guy was running down the street with no clothes on, and he was strung out on drugs. And I went on the call that the police had him sitting on the ground, and they called us to come, check him out. But when we walk up to him, the first thing the guy looks up and says is, "What's up, Herb?" So I'm like, okay, so how you doing, man? Come on, let's see if we can get you together, So we get him in the squad and we worked him out. We gave him a drug called Narcan to, numb the effects of the drug that he had taken. And we got him together. And of course, when I got back to the station, the guys gave me a good razzing about that, about who you hanging out with, this and that. But it was fine. I'm really, but that guy called me not too long ago, maybe a year or two ago, and said he was happy about that day. He remembered it, and he said he told me he's married, he's sober, he's been clean for so many years. So I really appreciated him calling me up and telling me that. So that's a challenge seeing that happen, but I love to hear the results. But then again, there's times when it's not so pleasant. There's a dear friend of mine who was in a car accident, and she lost her daughter in that car accident. And that I see it to this day. You can't get that scar out of your head. I was the paramedic on scene trying to intubate the young girl, and blood. It was a gory scene. So those are the challenges of the job that you don't get over. One thing about it, that mom, though, when I see her to this day, we give affectionate hugs. And matter of fact, it's been a while since I've seen her. The last time I seen her husband sent me a drink at the restaurant I was at. I appreciated that. But it's not always pleasant. I've seen some of my friends' moms pass away, dads, and I'm first on the scene. And those things, like I said, those are the things that are scarred up here that don't leave, But I'm sorry. Next question.
All right. Well, on the opposite end of that, I'm going to ask, career-wise, what are you most proud of?
Oh man, as career-wise, I'm proud of a lot of things as well. North Randall for those 5 years under Mayor Richardson. That was a challenge because they didn't have Amazon then. So it was a challenge to be able to run that department, especially the wages that they were making at that time. But it was a fun challenge. So I'm proud of being able to run that department for 5 years. And now I'm proud. I'm having fun at my station now. We got a new engine, new squad. We got some new firefighters in, little cadets. It's a good vibe around the station. I'm proud to see that, and they bring in their kids, and I'm watching them. I remember bringing my kids in, so that I'm proud to see those kind of things. And then the opportunities when I be able to interview young men and they talk about this job and being able to be the one to say, hey, yeah, this is the guy I want. So I'm proud to be able to do that because I know I'm helping them in a career path that could help them for the next year to come to raising their family.
Thank you. I mean, that's an excellent thing to be proud of. And my last question for you before I open it up to the audience is, what would Herb from 12th grade think of present day Fire Chief Herb?
From 12th grade? That 12th grade guy probably be like, wow, you really made some changes in your life. Because again, at 12th grade, I wasn't sure if I was going to finish out. So that guy would probably be like, and I'm going to tell you, they call me Herbie Hurt. He'd be like, Herbie Hurt, you doing all right. That's good stuff. And you look good in that uniform.
That's excellent. So at this point, I would like to invite our audience to ask Chief Waugh some questions. You could type them in the chat or you can raise your hand. Okay, I see you, Ms. Duck. Here you go. Please feel free to ask your question. Oh.
I don't actually have a question. I have a comment. I met her back in the 90s and during studying the Bible, and I am so very proud of the man he became. And during his time when he was a paramedic for Warrensville Heights, he came to my house several times. My husband was a diabetic, and a few times that we've had to call the ambulance for him, Herb was one of the paramedics that came. And my husband, even though he would be, in that diabetic state, he would recognize Herb's voice, and that always was comforting to me. And it was comforting to him too. And I'm really very, very proud of Herb Waugh and the man he is. That's it.
Thank you, Enid.
You're welcome.
Hey, and what's significant about that when she said her husband's voice, he was blind. So when you came in the house, he heard the voice and he would say, Herb, and I remember quite well.
Yeah.
Quite well. Again, that's one of them things, Ms. Terrence, that you go back and being, because when I'm in this environment, these are my folks. These are my people. This is not just these are not just clients. These are not just people that I'm going out and going through the motion at a job for. This is my folks. These are my people. When I go there, I feel like I'm taking care of my people. That's how I looked at a job, and I look at it still.
Well, I think that's an excellent way to view, because after so many years, it's great that you still have that outlook on what it is you do. Is there anyone else that has a question? Okay. From R Hooks 2, I would be so proud to see Herb come into the ER on this. I would be so proud to see Herb come into the ER on the squad.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Yeah, that's Nurse Rhonda Hooks. She's that's actually my cousin. She does quite well as a nurse over at. She was at South Point. She's all over the place now, but she's another product of the Warrensville High School system.
Oh, that's excellent. Okay. Are there any more questions? Please feel free. Don't be shy, everybody. I don't want to hog them up with all these questions I have. Right.
if there are no more questions, I would like to say something else about the school system. If I can go back to that, we had a lot of the schools torn down, and you know, as the fire chief in Warrensville Heights, there's things that you would like to see happen in the city with all that, and I'm just gonna let it be known. There's a school over there at John Dewey. I don't know if they have any plans for it, but that'd be a nice central location for a new fire department. So if Superintendent Jolly could hear that, and that word get passed around, sometime we could get some money for that. That would be a great topper to be able to get a nice new fire station built, and we look like the new city hall, our beautiful city hall. We could get a new fire department, and that would be a good topper for my career here in Warrensville.
That sounds like an excellent idea to me. Yep. Because they're getting new schools, new city hall. Why not a new fire department?
Right.
Okay. Well, one more question I have for you. Well, two more. The first is, well, the first of the last is, when you think of going to school in Warrensville, what comes to mind?
Family, because you build bonds in Warrensville that are everlasting. Like I mentioned, that Westwood bond, it's unmatched. And they say, people know me, and if they friends with me, they know I'm ride or die. You know, once I love you, I love you. We in, and I'm gonna be there for you, and I hope you're there for me. So when I think of the way we come up in Warrensville, it's familiar, family.
No, that's a good way to look at it. I think that's really great to hear from someone that's operating as a fire chief and as a former student. Okay. Here's a question from A. Mitch. Hi, Mom. Okay. Considering the layout of the city, what areas pose the most challenge to access?
Well, you know, we have a pretty decent layout. And having two stations is what really helps that. The only problem with accessing would be if one squad is out and the other one, you know, has to respond from the other end of the city. That's why that central location again would be good. So whichever squad, whichever way they left, it would come from the same end of the city. But one of the toughest ones I would say to access would be in Banbury coming in, especially when they went through that that security system they had with the arm bars, the gated community they tried to have back there. That was one of the toughest ones to access. But other than that, we can pretty much access the city pretty well.
Hey, thank you for that wonderful question. Okay, next we had a question from Taylor.
Hi, can I? Oh,
hi, Taylor.
Okay. Hi. I don't live in Warrensville, nor did I go to the school, so I'm an outsider. But how would you convince me to, like, if I wanted to really go there? I already graduated, but if I really wanted to go there, like, you know, you talk about the school, how can you, like, convince me to start? I'm in school to be a teacher as well, too, so I'm just looking around.
You know, Taylor, thanks for coming on. We appreciate having you. What we do is, you just told me you're a teacher, right? What I tell you my brother did. He's a teacher. He's a teacher right there. You studying to be a teacher, I'd be like, well, I know the perfect guy to talk to about that. So that knowing that bond that we have, and the thing we're right into the family. Hey, go talk to him. He'll explain some things to you, and we'll give you a guide. We'll give you a tour. You call and ask anybody in Warrensville. We'll take you for a tour of the city, take you on a tour of the schools. We get you you'll start feeling right in. And you talk to some people that come to the friendly city. You talk to some people that come to the friendly city, and they ask you about those people that are groomed right from the time they were brought up in Warrensville. That's how we're gonna treat you. We'll take you in with open arms. Now, if you cross us, no, just kidding. We appreciate you.
Oh, thank you.
You know, there was a question up there. It said, if you had to pick 3 teachers who influenced you, who would they be and why? Man, it's hard for me to just pick 3, honestly. When you start thinking about all, and you know, if you start naming them, I'm gonna get mad, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Mr. Winston, Mr. Walker, Mr. Caleb, all those old school teachers, a lot of people know. They'll be like, yeah. You go back, there was a 4th grade teacher I had, Mr. Gideon. Oh man, I remember that. And in kindergarten, there was Miss Bruner. Everybody knew Miss Bruner. You know, those are the people that everybody knew. There's Miss Turner, is a lawyer now. Man, I could go on all day with teachers, and I'm sorry I miss some because there are a lot of influences. But I'm gonna tell you, a lot of the teachers. There's another one, Mr. Bosch. Some of those teachers, I was never in his class, but if he saw me to this day, he'd say, "Hey, Mr. Waugh." He knew me from the time I walked into high school to the time I left, and he would he treated everybody with respect, and he remembered names. So that was good as a teacher and instructor that I appreciated about him, because you get a bond with him, and you really get the sense that he cares. And that's a lot of the teachers at Warrensville had that.
Okay.
But I appreciate that question.
Okay.
What would I say to Ms. Napier? Again, I don't know whatever happened to her, but I would tell her thanks again. I'd have been like, you could have passed me. I ain't had to go to summer school. But I'm not mad at you, because again, you get that feeling of you don't want to get anything handed to you. You want to go and show that you appreciated something. And that's when I got hired in the fire department, it was different. We didn't have the training. We didn't have to have paramedic training. We didn't have to have fire school. We didn't have to have all of the certifications we got on. We got hired to the job with no certification, but we had a 2-year period during probation where we had to go to school, get our certification for fire, and get our certification for paramedic. If you didn't pass, you lost your job. So I told you, I married my wife in '94, and I took the job in '95. So I was ready to take care of family. Failing wasn't an option. It wasn't an option. So it was time to crack the books and study. So that's the difference. And probably one of the things, Miss Naylor, they say, okay, if you don't pass, you don't get it. That's the attitude you have to have at that point. You know, you gotta go get it. All right, yeah, all these tell about your uncle's reaction to your profession becoming chief. My uncle, he he always tells me I stole his job. No, he didn't want a job. My uncle did 25 years and out. His 25th year was the year I got started. I worked with him for a whole month before he retired. So he said, when you came in, it's time for me to go. But he does appreciate it. He comes to a lot of the events. He's come to Ms. Hagwood's veterans event and one of the senior luncheons. He was honored there. So he's proud of that profession that I've taken on. follow in his footsteps, if you will.
Okay. One last question I have for you, Chief Waugh, is if someone is interested in pursuing a similar career path, what advice would you have for them?
All right. That's a good question. I'm glad you asked that because, again, we didn't get in the school system when I was coming up, as far as firefighting was concerned, we didn't get the career path direction that's afforded to people in Warrensville now. So if you're in the district, I'd tell you to check out that fire school that they have opened up, that vocational training that Mr. Jolly has opened up in district. It is A1, and it starts you off. You could actually have your fire certification and your EMT, emergency medical training, before you get out of high school. Remember, I was, by the time I got finished with the bumps in the road that I had, I was 28 years old when I got my job. They had their training right out of high school to get that. So I tell them to look into that. And if they career path or they didn't have an opportunity for vocational training, I'd turn them to Tri-C's Academy right away. Tri-C has an excellent fire school, and they have paramedic training as well.
Hey, thank you, Chief Waugh. That's excellent. I know a lot of students who have just graduated, they don't have plans on attending college or anything of that nature. And college isn't for everybody. So there are alternative ways to be successful, as you've proven to us. So I want to thank you again for coming on the Tiger Talks and sharing your journey from student to fire chief of your community. I really appreciate it. And it was amazing learning this much about you. I wrote down Adam's rib because I hadn't heard of it before. So that was an interesting tidbit. And I also wanted to let everyone who's present know that currently I'm heading the committee to plan the final roar. So next year around this time, around Memorial Day weekend next year, May 26th to the 28th, the high school will be coming down as we get ready to have students into the new building. So this is one final hurrah for the high school. It's going to be a jam-packed weekend, and I just want everybody to come out and celebrate. So yes, I think it's going to be excellent, and I'm so glad to have everyone here again for Tiger Talks. Each time we have Tiger Talks, it just gets better. So thank you, Chief Waugh. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And I hope to see you all again for our next Tiger Talk.
All right.